We are all joined here for the EID SALAH, and it's a big blessing from Allah that He has given us opportunity to see another Ramadan and then attend this Salah with happiness. And inshallah, Allah Ta'ala is going to accept all our hard work, our ibadah, and give us reward in this dunya and akhirah. Ramadan was tough and difficult, but went very quickly. When the first day started, it seemed like forever, and before you know it, it was the 30th day of Ramadan, and it felt like we had fasted a few days. And this is Rahmah and Barakah of Allah. And Ramadan is not only a blessing for Akhirah, but also for Dunya. There's more and more research which is coming through, which is showing that fasting detoxifies the body. It helps strengthen your immune system and reduces the risk of developing cancer. So all of these things combined together are benefit in this life and the hereafter. Now, we are very fortunate. We live in peace, we live in harmony. But when we look around the world, there are many areas of the world where people are suffering. People who are in war zones, whether that is in Yemen or in Gaza, in Palestine, or whether in Ukraine or Central African Republic. People in conflict zones like Burma and on the borders of Bangladesh. People who are not in conflict zones but do not have the means to even buy food. So at this day of happiness, let us all remember the sufferings people are having, and let us try and help them in every possible way we can to alleviate that suffering. But this brings us to a question, and the question, my brothers, is why does Allah let this happen? And the question is, why doesn't Allah stop this from happening? And this question will come to your mind, and it will come to my mind, and it especially comes to the mind of the non-believers. When you talk to them about Allah, when you talk to them about God, they always say, if there is a God, why does He let all these things happen? And the answer is in the Quran. And I have the Quran in my hand, and I want to read to you Surah Ibrahim, and I want to read to you ayah number 42. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. So once again, وَلَا تَحْسَبُنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا. Do not assume that Allah is not aware, or He's ghafil, or He's forgotten, or ignoring amma ya'malu zalimun, the deeds of the unjust. Now, if you drive on the motorway and you see someone speeding, or you speed yourself, apparently it looks okay. A camera might flash, but nobody's going to stop you. But eventually, after a few days, few weeks, you will get a notice, you'll get a penalty, you'll be called to court, and you will be held accountable. You cannot say that the people who made the motorway or the people who have made my car are responsible for the speeding. And this is also the basic understanding of Islam. Allah has given us the capacity and capability to do the right and wrong, but Allah is not responsible for it. We are responsible for it. Just like the makers of your car are not responsible because they gave a speed up to 140 miles an hour. That doesn't mean you drive at 140 miles an hour. That speed has been given for special circumstances when you're on the German autobahn, not on the motorways in England. And that is only to be used sparingly, or maybe not be used at all. So when Allah gives us the capacity, the power, individually or collectively, as a person or as a nation, when Allah gives you weapons of high grade and mass destruction, or gives you the capacity and capability to build them, when Allah puts so much power in an atom that you can make an atomic bomb, that does not mean you have to use it. You can keep it in reserve or use it for beneficial purpose. I want to clarify one thing here. There is no such thing as darkness. Darkness is a lack of light. Darkness does not exist by itself. When you take the light away, you have darkness. Similarly, injustice is the lack of justice. Evil is the lack of good. So when people ask the question, why did Allah create evil? Allah did not create evil. The lack of good is evil. When people say, why there is darkness? Allah did not create darkness. The lack of light is darkness. Similarly, in the human beings, Allah did not create humans evil. And Allah says in Surah Teen, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. I created human being in the best possible way. They stand right for righteousness. They stand guarded. Taqweem means to stand up, like you have Qiyam as-Salat. You stand up. Human beings, they stand up. Physically, we stand up. Other animals don't stand up and walk like us. And we stand up for justice, for the right thing. But then they take themselves to become worse of the worst, worse than the enemy. And that thing is also addressed in the Quran. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah Ta'ala gives the reason and gives the guidance what we should be doing. So Allah Ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولولا أنفسكم ولوالدين والأقربين. O people of the faith, stand for justice. And the meaning of the ayah is you stand for justice, being a witness to Allah, and do it even against yourself and against your parents and against the people who are close to you. If we would follow these rules, there would be no zulm, there would be no injustice in the world. And even if a nation is your enemy, says Allah, their animosity should not make you be unjust to them. Do not be too harsh on the rich or the poor, and do not be too kind to the rich or poor when it comes to justice. So remember, Allah says that if you save one life, it is like you've saved the whole of humanity. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. But if you take one life, it is like you have taken the life of whole humanity. Doesn't matter whether you are a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So the conflict zones in the world, think about them, care for them, try to help the people who are suffering, whether they are in the same ideology, religion and political affiliation as you and me, or they are in a different ideology and political affiliation. And Allah Ta'ala in Quran has told the Muslims that we are responsible to bring peace and justice to the whole world. I am very much touched by how people have stood up for the people in Gaza, how they've supported the Palestinians. I'm even more grateful and touched by those people who themselves are Jews and they stand by the people of Palestine, who are non-Muslim, who are Christian or atheist, and they stand by the people of Gaza who have been suffering. But brothers, do we stand up for the people in Central Africa? Did we stand up when there was genocide in Rwanda? Would Allah not ask us? Is our love and compassion and justice just limited to people who look like us or who live like us or who speak our language? And why do we stand up more for some people and not for others? Why do the people of Rohingya, the Rohingya Muslims of Burma and the Yemenis do not get the same support and same attention as other people do? So these are the questions we have to ask, because Allah does not want to limit His justice, His love, His care and His message of peace, Islam, to any one creed or any one nation. Jazakallahu khair.